Justice doesn't sleep.
Okay.
What's up, what's going on, squad? My name is TJ and I am currently writing this script as I'm finalizing one for my last moveset video. A good content creator would wait and see how that video does before making another one. But I am impulsive, and I need to continue info dumping about my favorite Warner Brothers properties or my brain will literally explode. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Multiversus is a new platform fighter featuring characters like Finn the Human, Jake the Dog, and LeBron the Basketball Player. Anyone could come to this ever-expanding roster, and this series looks at how some of our favorites could work in the game to tide us over until their inevitable inclusion. Or help us cope if they never are. Today we are looking at Batman's proteges, those he's taken under his wing, the Robins. The challenge here is authentically bringing Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne to the game in a way that clearly shows they all have similar training and backgrounds but still feel unique from one another. They should feel complementary, a team. But they need to stand out from one another, as their own characters, just like in the comics. There's a shit ton more Robins in the 4 we're covering today, and even more Protectors of Gotham I'd love to cover. But these are some of the most iconic and arguably have the strongest ties to Batman. If he's calling anyone to back him up cause god damn it, Superman keeps grabbing me, Damian, get the kryptonite! It's these 4. Okay, actually he'd call Alfred, but he's busy cleaning all the guano in the cave. First, just like in the last concept video, we need to cover what these baby bats need to do in the game. Essentially what a full set of moves looks like and how they function. Then we'll look at what they can do and apply what we can until we have a full concept. If you're one of the 20 million Multiversus players, or better yet, one of the chads that watched my previous moveset video, feel free to use the timestamps to skip ahead. But for everyone else, here's the general mechanics of the game. Every character in Multiversus has around 12 attacks, 8 normal moves, which contain 4 grounded attacks and 4 aerial ones, and at least 4 special moves. However, there can be aerial and grounded variants of specials, leaving room for even more moves. On the flip side, some normals can be the same on the ground or in the air, meaning there may be less. And between different modes, meters, etc., there's nothing saying we have to use 12, but it's a solid base. A character can be classified as vertical, horizontal, or a hybrid. This clues the player in where the character's kill power and combo potential can be found. Batman, a vertical, gets a lot of damage with ladder combos and kills off the top. And Wonder Woman's Sword Slash and Shield Bash will kill way earlier than her up special since she's horizontal. Or you can be absolutely insane, say fuck the labels and kill off the top at 40 anyway. But since most of us aren't Nakat, this is pretty good to know. On top of your damage and kill power, the overall structure of a character's moveset is told to the player via 5 classes to give you a good idea of what their game plan will be. Why am I including this? They abandoned any design philosophy that goes to classes a long time ago. Assuming classes are a perfect system that perfectly sums up a character's strengths and weaknesses, we have the following. Bruisers are the primary damage dealers and pretty balanced across the board. Assassins trade some damage for more combo routes and versatility, but overall function similarly. Tanks have the highest defense, but tend to be a bit sluggish. Mages tend to control space with traps and ranged moves, the most versatile class for sure. Supports are a bit of a grab bag. Rain Dog and Velma feel like mages, what with all the projectiles and ways to control space, and Steven feels like a tank with all the shields, or maybe a bruiser with the combos he's capable of off of them. What these characters have in common is some way to protect an ally or give them a little boost. While every character has some way to synergize with their partner, supports typically do so the most directly and efficiently. Speaking of, lastly but certainly not least, every character has to have something that makes them beneficial in a team setting given Multiversus' emphasis on 2v2. Like Batman's smoke bomb protecting him and allies from projectiles. I'm so sorry I keep forgetting it does that, Kuma. So now that we all know that every character has to have a set of grounded, aerial, and special moves, a class, a clear way to deal damage and kill, and something to provide a teammate, it's time to get in today's set of potential characters. Starting with, of course, the pretty boy in the leotard. The start of it all, the first Robin, Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. Dick Grayson, age 12, lost his parents after the circus the family reformed for refused to pay off the mob. Their last show, ever, was sabotaged. Bruce, being in the audience that day, took Dick in. Originally adopting him only as his ward, neither wanting the billionaire playboy to replace the boy's father. But he would later be adopted as his son in one of the sweetest moments ever put to page. I literally can't. The bond these two share.
It is poetry in motion.
Given that the Batcave's only security is an elderly man who should have retired a decade ago and is as easy to find as adjusting the clock on the wall, Dick found the Batcave and discovered Bruce Wayne was the Batman, who was currently working on a particular murder case that Dick had a personal stake in. Seeing the boy's aptitude, the Dark Knight made him the offer of a lifetime, become his partner in crime fighting, starting with bringing Tony Zuko to justice. And this is what sets Dick apart from the rest of the family. The man who murdered Nightwing's parents was convicted of his crimes. He's one of the few members with that closure, and as such is probably the most well-adjusted of the group, though the competition isn't fierce. However, with that closure came a stark contrast between him and his new guardian. The drive and darkness that motivates Batman scared Dick. Bruce's methods causing the two to clash as the boy wonder became more independent. Or in other words,
I am now 18 and am contractually obligated by law to fucking hate you.
And thus the neighborhood city of Bloodhaven now had its own hero. Nightwing was born. It's generally agreed upon that Nightwing is the best acrobat of the team. Made sense given that he was trained in it since the age of 4. Now as an adult, he easily outpaces even Batman and is the only human alive capable of a quadruple flip. Agility and speed needs to be present in this moveset. Through his training as Robin, he has become a master of covert operations, able to blend in the shadows despite being dressed like a walking McDonald's advertisement. A decent escapologist, just ask any girl he's ever dated how good he is at escaping a relationship. He also has the intellect and know-how to hack into Daddy's man cave, and is fluent in at least 12 languages. In his later years as Robin and onward, he has become a master tactician, being the most iconic leader of the Teen Titans, and a master combatant, specializing in Eskrima and Aikido, a martial art involving the use of blunt instruments and using the opponent's attacks against them respectively. Though he knows just about as many styles as Bruce. He was strong enough to restrain a gorilla and the bite of an orca. There's a reason Beast Boy doesn't fuck with him. He can bounce his signature Eskrima sticks 37 times and right back to his hand. Eat your heart out, Captain America. And, even while in excruciating pain, can dodge gunfire at point blank. These are just some of his most noteworthy feats, but I barely scratched the surface of this fat-ass badass. But enough of the skills, let's move on to the tools. His main weapon is much more than a simple stick, able to produce 50,000 volts to instantly immobilize any target or combine into a staff if the dick needs more length. His mask comes equipped with tactical vision, because even the most observant of us need the edge highlighted in bright ass orange sometimes. His suit is arguably more equipped for stealth than Bruce's, it getting darker the more light there is in the room. It's also protective against fire and electricity, but is less armor plated for the shit he should actually watch out for, like bullets and knives. This leads him to be more mobile and show his glutes off better though. Speaking of that skin-tight, sperm-killing, circulation-cutting uniform, where does he keep the rest of his shit? Well, there's compartments in the gauntlets and boots, containing equipment like first aid, rebreather, grappling hook, discount batarangs, brass knuckles, several gases, and a stun gun, because stun sticks weren't enough, I guess. He also has a sick-ass bike that's durable enough to be used as a battering ram every time he gets on it. In the Arkham franchise, he also got a grab bag of Batman's tools, such as the line launcher, bat claw, and freeze grenades. He also got a few unique stuff like sleep darts he could fire from his wrist. But despite all that, Dick mostly relies solely on his whackers and ability to jump good. That's Dick in a hole! Sorry, Dick as a whole. So now, let's get into the moves. I was torn between Bruiser or Assassin for Dick, cause sure, he's the most acrobatic in the entire DC universe, but he's also pretty aggressive and strong enough to send someone through a concrete wall. Ultimately, I decided that because Dick is pretty nice, he's more likely to just leave you with some blunt force trauma than he is to fucking steal your bones. Even though he can hit like a Mack truck, he's probably not going to. Plus, his tendency to risk his safety and those around him for fucking style points slots him in nicely with the assassins. Don't be surprised if you see some bleed over though. I'm simply not as gifted in the design philosophy as the Agile developers. Given Nightwing's versatility, speed, aggression, and movement in the comics, I chose to make him a hybrid, with powerful kill moves both horizontally and vertically, and as much combo potential in either direction. Seeing as how he's quick but lightly armored to the point that a stiff breeze breaks a bone, he's going to be even faster than Batman, but also even lighter. You must master the art of not getting hit just like the man himself, or ponder why fucking Furby is outliving you. One of Dick's unique properties over the rest of the cast will be a sweet spot on most of his attacks. Hit with just the tip of Dick's sticks and you'll deal an additional % of damage and a stack of stun. At 15 stacks, the enemy will be dazed from all the electrical shocks for a moment. This will give Dick and his ally an opportunity for a hard punish, making him a key asset to any team he's on. He has other stuff, but we'll get to that. On the ground, his normals will go like so. His side attack is a 5-hit jab instead of the normal 3. This is because we are going to use it to transition into several combo routes depending on when you cancel the move. Cancel it on the 3rd and you can go into almost anything, the 4th for ladder combos, and the full thing will go nicely into some horizontal combos. The reason you'd want to use the 4th and 5th over just always comboing off the 3rd is because they both set up sweet spots for the next attack you can cancel it with. However, to compensate for the high speed and decent utility of this move, it is fairly low damage and has little hit stun. So the longer you take to cancel the move, the more likely it is your opponent will DI out and counter you. The counterplay for this would be to cancel with attacks you know will beat whatever your opponent will try to break out with. Alternatively, most of the cancel windows open pretty fast, so if you go in already knowing what you want to do, it's less likely your opponent will have an opportunity to escape. The attacks themselves go as follows. A quick poke with high priority that will deal 3% additional damage and 1 stack of stun at the sweet spot. I decided to give this move a lot of priority because the combos seen in the animation that inspired this string always see him blocking and countering an attack, so this feels like the equivalent of that. This goes into a right to left swing, also with 3% electric damage and 1 stack of stun. Then a stabbing motion with both sticks that, while only giving 1 stack of stun and 3% additional damage at the sweet spot, will leave the opponent dazed no matter what, but only for a short moment. Then he goes into a backflip that kicks the enemy upward. Canceling sooner will keep you in the air, but you can wait until you land. From this crouched position, he'll spin on one foot back into a stand while kicking the opponent outward with the other. The kicks will obviously have no sweet spot and deal no stacks of stun. Unless the opponent is already holding away as you go into the move, it's pretty safe up to the 3rd hit. Performing the full flip and anything onward can be countered as the windup is a bit longer. But let's see if we can't make the follow-ups make up for the risk. His neutral attack has him use both sticks as a taser, applying 1 stack of stun for every second and 2 stacks every second if you land the sweet spot. Keeping the attack button held will continue the attack. It will eventually start pushing the enemy away and they can DI out. This is more of a counter move, or combo finisher as it's hard to follow up with. His up attack is a double uppercut with a zap at the end sending the enemy upwards. The zap deals 1 stack of stun in general, but the sweet spot will deal 4 and 8% additional damage. This is due to the sweet spot being damn near impossible to land raw. You'll probably need to do it out of the end of jab 4. Proper reward for the risk. His down attack will be a sweep kick that will cause the enemy to bounce on the floor. Low priority, but hard to be hit out of due to how low he is to the ground. Not a lot of damage, but the combo potential for this is going to be solid. In the air, his neutral attack becomes a 1-2 swing. Tap the attack button once to apply damage and hit stun without sending the opponent away with the first hit. Excellent combo sender. And twice to break armor and send them flying. Hitting with the sweet spot for the first swing is 3% additional damage and 1 stack of stun. Landing it for the second attack is 2 stacks and 5% additional damage and knockback. His up attack is another flip kick. Landing the hit will get Nightwing some additional height, but chaining these can be difficult over time due to recovery frames. His Sarah is also a 1-2 strike, a flying drop kick that goes into flip off the opponent. Using the first attack will send the enemy downward, and the second will send them away and give you some height. His dare is a dive kick, with a follow-up dual swing if it lands with a target nearby. Cancel this action with anything if there's no ground under you. Self-destructing as the flying Grayson is not allowed. Time for the specials, baby! And those other special properties. For his neutral special, while grounded, he throws in a scrimma at the target. This is a great tool against anyone trying to zone you out, especially seeing as how I'm making the stick unbreakable. However, if you miss and the scrimma doesn't hit a part of the stage, it will not return to Nightwing's hand, and you will have to deal with one less stick. Being hit during this will cause the scrimma to not make its way back to you, and clashing with a strong hit or armor will set it off course. This will limit his moveset in a few ways that we'll get into here in a bit. In the case that it has fallen off the stage, it will teleport back to your hand at the end of a cooldown. If it does land on the stage, it can now be picked up by anyone and used to apply electrical damage to any of their punches. If an ally has the stick, you can make them toss it back to you by double tapping neutral special. If an enemy has it, you'll have to knock it out of their hand, with enough knockback or by timing the callback input as they swing to make them zap themselves and drop it. Oi! Hey! Drop it! Drop it! Good Superman! Usually, the throw itself will not deal any stacks of stun or electrical damage, unless you press neutral special again during the throw. Mostly, it will just deal a little 2% zap and 1 stack of stun. But, if you tap the zap as the tip is facing the target, it will shoot out a pulse that deals 6 stats of stun and 10% electrical damage. The pulse will be Nightwing's strongest knockback move. Think killing Iron Giant off stage at 115 instead of the usual 170 kind of kill power. However, using the zap at all will cause it to drop where it is, meaning you are forcing yourself to be down a dick stick. Losing both is possible as well. I hope you'd all be patient enough to wait instead of screwing yourself over like that, but regardless, there is an scrimmaless variant of his moves too. In the air, this move becomes an evasive flip. Simply press and hold a direction to quickly get away from danger. Pressing this again before the flip ends will cause Dick to flip in the opposite direction that you sent him in, or to keep going in the original direction depending on where you're holding your movement stick. This second half still counts as one special use. Every character in Multiversus can use 2 specials in the air, meaning you can do 4 flips before having to land, just like in the comics. His side special is the back claw, kinda like the grappling hook, but instead of flying to targets like his mentor, he brings you to him. No cooldown, but left very vulnerable if the hook is dodged. His up special while grounded is a front flip that will hit enemies with one foot, then the other, before slamming and scrimma to the ground, sending out a pulse that will send the enemy upwards. Deals 2 stacks of stun. In the air, he instead deploys the line launcher. Great recovery move distance-wise, but little predictable. You can use it defensively if you want, as Nightwing will automatically kick away anyone in his path. Say they're off stage and you want to get closer to finish them off without pulling them in and possibly saving them with the backlaw. However, I highly recommend they be in hit stun first. Nightwing can easily have his kick beaten and be knocked off the line. For his down special in the air, he slams down and sends out a ground pulse to push enemies away. The higher up you are, the more powerful the attack, dealing 1 stack if you do it out of a short hop, 2 at about Sky Arena first platform height, 3 at the top plat, and 5 if you somehow manage to do it from the top blast zone without being hit out of the startup. Landing on top of someone will always deal 5 stacks and will deal 8% additional damage. On the ground, he instead combines the 6 into a staff, which will change some of his moves obviously. All his kicks will stay the same except his grounded down attack, which now has more range and priority as he tripped you with the staff. But he does it from a standing position, so no more low profiling. His neutral attack is now a pole vault towards the enemy, an excellent approach option. His up attack is a spinning multi-hit with the final hit sitting straight up like his scrimma variant, but it sends up even higher. His Nair now does that little body torque shit you see in the Kung Fu movies. This is still a 2-hit, but it strikes a balance between the benefits of the individual hits of the scrimma Nair, both hits dealing armor break and medium knockback. His down special on the ground while holding the staff will send a shockwave that travels along the ground, dealing 3 stacks of stun. With the staff, you essentially trade some sweet spots and speed for better mid-range raw damage. Any scrimma move I didn't give a staff variant is how you will switch back. So you can do stuff like pole vault into the enemy and transition right into the 5-hit jab. If you don't have one of the dick sticks, you will be unable to form the staff. Otherwise, his moveset is essentially unchanged. Every other attack in a multi-hit will now have the hit be unable to apply stun and electric damage. But since the dick is still strong, he does not suffer a damage decrease, and will still break armor on the second hit of Nair. That's all, nothing too complicated. If you lose both, his moveset changes by a lot. Some moves arguably for the better. Overall, it's not great. His jab becomes a left hook that goes right into an elbow strike, followed by a palm strike. This will work similarly to the Scrimmer variant, but the stun duration is even shorter. He finishes the move off with a spinning kick to push enemies away if you prefer distance over a combo. Yes, in this form you do not get the 4th and 5th attack combo utility like you do with these Scrimmers. You don't even get a 5th attack. And the 3rd has a tighter combo window, leaving some routes completely unviable. Don't lose your fucking sticks, gang. His neutral is now a flying kick, strong but interruptible. His up attack is now a flip kick to transition into aerials. Keep the button held to flip further away if you want distance instead. His neutral special is now a wing ding, which will deal less damage and no knockback, but is at least spammable. Stickless wing does not have any down specials, so don't fucking lose both! Unless you're giving both to Gizmo, cause god damn it, my boy just wants to jam now, all he needs is a drum set. Overall, Nightwing is a fast, versatile brawler with many ways to approach, extend combos, and keep your enemies on the back foot with decent means to evade if they ever do gain an advantage. You are rewarded for being flashy and understanding your combos, but playing too risky or predictably will get you countered for a fairly early KO. For his signature perks, we have the Stun Gun. Yes, I found a way to use it. In the case that Nightwing is down in a Scrimmer stick, he will pull out the Stun Gun. His moveset will remain unchanged, but now attached with his hand can still apply stun and electrical damage. As a trade-off, the cooldown on the stick return if it falls off the stage is a little longer. Big ol' Zapper! Apply more sweet spots to the tip of Nightwing's weapon in its staff form. The electrical damage is minimal, but can be applied with more attacks than before. And finally, Trapeze Master. Travel along the line launcher faster, making it safer overall, and making the kick he does on it hit harder. But the line will need a brief cooldown after use with this variant. And that about wraps up Dick. Now he's ready to fuck. I know Tim is the more iconic staff wielder, but Dick has been shown to use one on multiple occasions, and he did help train him, so the parallel made sense to me. Other connections to the Bat fam I made was for the side specials and aerials, inspired by Batman's own side special and Sayer respectively. Other inspirations were of course the comics, Arkham City, Injustice 1, and Young Justice. Moving right along to the second Robin, the black sheep of the family. Flipping sides more than Two-Face's coin! It's the Red Hood. For those of you that have seen the excellent Under the Red Hood movie, and I mean of course you have, it's easily the best animated Bat film, you already know Jason's streamlined return from the grave. So to keep things interesting, I'll cover the original. Did you know that these two panels are from the same comic? Literally an hour at most after killing his kid, Joker gets himself diplomatic immunity so the goddamn Batman cannot legally rock his shit for it. Growing up on the streets of Gotham, Jason Todd had it pretty rough. Abusive dad, neglectful mom, and living in poverty. Dude probably thought he had it made when he came across the fucking Batmobile. With balls of steel at only the ripe old age of 9, Todd tried to jack the tires for a pretty penny. This happened in Crime Alley, by the way. It's very possible Bruce was literally just at his parents' memorial when he met this audacious little street urchin. Seeing the situation Todd was in and the path he'd be going down because of it, also because Dick just dumped his ass, Batman took Todd in. His goal was to give Jason a means to turn his trauma into something positive. And to his credit, it kinda worked, just not how either of them expected. Jason found purpose and new family during his tenure as Robin. It's possible he never would have outgrown it like his predecessor. Batman and Robin, forever and ever. 100 years of dynamic duo, 100 days, Bruce and Jason, forever 100 times, running around doing justice and things, www.batandrob.com, www.Batman and Robin Adventures all 100 years, every minute new robinadventures.com, www.100timesdynamicduo.com. But then... So, upon finding out the woman who, and I use the term so loosely I'm calling it reinforcements, raised him was not his real mother, Jason went out to find his birth mom. She wasn't all that great either, selling the kid out to the Joker of all people so he wouldn't spill the beans that she sold drugs. What kind of shit was she selling that was worth Jason's life? Pot. Sorry, sweetie, Mr. J threatened to tell the Popo about the special ingredients Mommy used in her brownies at the bake sale. so I'm gonna need you to fucking die. And this is why I prefer the original. Who could have seen this coming? Jason's mom is also put in the death trap. Why? Because the Joker thought it would be funny. This woman is kinda dumb. And Jason, despite being beaten half to death, gets to his feet and protects this absolute piece of garbage from the blast. Because he's a goddamn hero. And then he stayed dead via fan request! Kid was so hated by everyone to the point the fourth wall broke so IRL people could get a piece. But because comic books are comic books, Superboy Prime punched the fabric of reality for the shit it said on Edspot's Live, and the ripple effect brought our boy back. No one bothered to reset the bones for a corpse though, so he needed to take a quick dip in the Lazarus pit a la Talia al Ghul, who was kind enough to let Jason know that someone else took his job. You know, the one he found all meaning in? Now who's the audacious one? You put another fucking kid in spandex? Did you not learn your lesson last time, dude? Oh, she also let him know the Joker's still kicking. He wasn't happy about that either. Then they banged. That made people get to say they fucked someone's mom and mean it. Again, the original telling is better. Still love you though, sweetie. It's okay. So, pissed off at the world, but particularly at Batman and his rules, he went off to prove a point as Red Hood. Now, some people mistake the resurrected Jason as watered-down Punisher. I mean, he literally is in some interpretations, but those aren't valid and we don't talk about them. Instead, he's actually more set out to be a better Batman than Bruce. You see, not only is he a walking antithesis to everything Batman upholds and a good argument for why his methods are a little wrong by his mere existence, he also presents an alternative when he first gets back to Gotham. He takes over organized crime in the city, stating that crime can't be killed, but instead controlled. Take over the Empire, you can set the rules. From this stance, Red Hood is nothing like Punisher. He doesn't believe all criminals should die, hell, not even all super criminals. But the egregious shit needs taken care of, or the war never ends. Some things cannot be forgiven. This isn't a new stance either, as it's been heavily implied Jason has killed during his time as Robin. The brutality thing isn't new either, and is a staple of the character. So, Jason is a brutal vigilante with no qualms about killing, but he's more three-dimensional than a guy that shoots everyone in his way. Sometimes he punches them really hard. When it is time to throw hands, how do? Let's talk about what Red Hood is capable of. Due to getting lost in the sauce, he now has slightly enhanced strength, endurance, speed, and reflexes on top of a small-scale healing factor. It's also hard for him to get the sniffles. This dip in the limited edition Mountain Dew also gave Jason some kick-ass magical abilities that Talia taught him how to utilize, such as a strike that negates all magical abilities and summonable all blades designed to kill magical-based threats. Not always usable though. Not only did he train under Batman, but also some of Batman's trainers, such as Lady Shiva, Bronze Tiger, and the Owlcast. At this stage of his life, Jason evenly matches Batman and proves to be one of the most versatile and effective brawlers of the team. He's mastered Aikido, again a defensive martial art, Karate, wherein you use open-handed strikes like you would a weapon, Capoeira, a fluid art that keeps you on the move, several forms of boxing to dome a bitch, the aggressive Krav Maga, and even guerrilla-style warfare. His training also conditioned his mind, being less susceptible to poison and mind control. Speaking of his mind, a lot of people forget he's well educated. Batman pulled a fucking Beauty and the Beast and gave this kid a library. He's not the genius of the family, but dude is well versed in everything, from medicine to mechanics, enough to MacGyver his own shit on the regular. Quit portraying him as dumb! Also, since Dick 1 shared the Netflix password, Jason picked up on the expert detective and hacker thing so he could bench Avatar. Speaking of shared traits, Jason shares a lot of the same base skills as any Robin, but by all accounts he went into the role of Robin too soon, hence his additional training post-resurrection. Even still, acrobatics, covert operations, and detective work are in his repertoire. He may not be the same style of leader or strategist as Dick, but he does excel in these areas in his own way, his plans consistently leading those with more experience than him on wild goose chases so he can make that crime lord bag. It's generally agreed on that Hood is the strongest of the Robins, able to flip 600-pound people right off of him. Less agreed upon though is his superior marksmanship. But allow me to make my case. In the origin of the Batman Who Laughs, Batman gathers notable members of the Bat family under the guise of informing them of what's going on. But unfortunately, the oncoming storm has already happened. Bruce has already changed, and he guns them all down at point blank range with 2 Uzis. Despite this, Jason is able to draw and get a shot off before being fatally wounded. Given how close he was to killing the marsupial that do the chuckling before he could kill all of them with a presumably slower firing weapon, speaks volumes on Jason's skill as a gunslinger. Despite what some interpretations would have you believe, Jason is not a lumbering brute. He's also quite fast, literally juking gunfire from mere inches away and dodging automatic rounds from sharpshooters like Deathstroke. He's quick, my dudes. He's also durable as fuck, digging his way out of his own grave and walking several miles before finally passing out, all while still suffering wounds from a vicious beating and a typically fatal injury known as death. And again, this is before his endurance was supercharged. He just has that high of a pain tolerance. But enough about skills and feats. When talking about Jason Todd, weapons always gotta be in the conversation. So, how does he get a motherfucker? Quite a few ways, but his signature pistols are among the most common. We can debate if these semi-automatic pistols are M19s or Desert Eagles till we're blue in the face, but the fact is, you won't find these babies at Walmart. Depending on what the source is, these guns have changed to anywhere from doubling as a taser or combining into a rifle. Speaking of other guns, assault rifles, bazookas, and so on are always nearby in one of his many weapon caches that he keeps around the city, but note that he doesn't always have them on him. If I haven't made it abundantly clear, Red Hood is not a one-trick pony. He also has a collection of melee weapons, such as daggers and swords, as well as a crowbar because he is a petty bitch. To pair with his explosive personality, Red Hood has more shit that goes boom than me after I indulge my love affair with Taco Bell. If he somehow does run out of grenades and C4, his helmet works just as well. Some of you may be thinking that is a huge safety hazard, but not to worry, the thing is durable as fuck, so it's not likely to be set off from getting knocked around. Except when it shatters like glass because for some reason battle damage is the fashion trend of the century. His suit has the standard protection against knives, bullets, and even fucking rockets somehow, but also has some cheeky little features like a taser built into the bat emblem if he just really doesn't want to talk to Dad. And lastly, taking a page out of Dick's playbook, Jason has compartments for a grappling hook, laser cutter, and other oddities. Alrighty, I know that wasn't concise, but the writers tend to give Jason new tools and abilities every other Tuesday, so this section was bound to be packed. But now it's finally time to get into the concept. There's a solid argument for any class, really. Red Hood as a tank might not make sense at first, but keep in mind he has a high pain tolerance and is clad head to toe in armor. On top of that, he somehow eats like this, but looks like this. Dude somehow making the dirty bulk work. In fact, he's been portrayed as a tank a couple of times. But let's be real, one of these things is not like the other. There's an argument to be made for it, but it's just not a clean fit. Given his abundance of tools and tricks, Mage is a contender as well. But Mage's typical set of who's-its and what's-its provide some sort of extra utility. Recovery options, escape options, or a whole mechanic centered around stage control. Red Hood's tools really only serve one purpose: fuck shit up. Planting C4 to set up an advantage is pretty reminiscent of Harley's kit, who is an assassin. And Todd's speed and mobility feats definitely fit that bill. But the kind of combo potential you would see in an assassin's kit is a little too fancy for the way that Jason typically fights. There's really only one option here. Red Hood will be a bruiser. Speaking of too fancy, Red Hood may be versatile, but maybe not versatile enough to warrant a hybrid kit. Busting a cap in one's ass is pretty straightforward, so let's have him combo and kill in that direction. In terms of speed and weight, he should probably be somewhere in the Wonder Woman to LeBron range for both, but I can see them making him as light as Shaggy for balance purposes. Skipping around a little bit, I want to cover his neutral special first and foremost, because it plays a huge part in the rest of his kit, Gun Kata. No matter what the model is, it's likely each sidearm has 8 rounds. This is also backed up by the inspiration for this move, his quickfire in Arkham Knight. 8 rounds, 2 guns, you have 16 bullets you can fire at your leisure until you need to reload. It's when you fire that changes how the move functions. If you just use it as a projectile, Hood will plant his feet and fire as long as you tap the button. Use the movement stick to aim. However, if you instead use it after an attack, the way Jason fires will change. Every time you stop blasting, Jason will aim in the general trajectory his last attack sends people. I want there to be a smooth transition from melee to shooting so the guns are always a viable combo finisher, just like how it feels to transition into it in Arkham Knight. However, this will only be if you attack cancel with a Gun Kata. There will also be a small window to essentially make your attack a mix of the two attacks. Think Bayonetta. Obviously, if I intend for you to be able to shoot the guns whenever as long as you have ammo, these will not count towards your 2 special limit in the air. It would kinda suck to do the gun kata version of a recovery move only to realize you no longer have anything else to get back on stage with. The bullets themselves won't deal any knockback, but they will put enemies in hit stun for a great defensive and offensive tool. Damage wise, I don't want it to be negligible, but anything more than 15% from a full clip would inspire too much spam. When out of bullets, Red Hood will not get any ammo back until you press neutral special again and reload. And Jason does this pretty quickly, just like in the source material, but the animation he enters must finish in order to get the bullets back. Any opponent getting bullied by your gunfire will use this opportunity to get advantage, but luckily Jason has plenty of tools to get the space he needs. And since we're already here, let's talk about his other specials. For his grounded side special, you're looking at quite the commitment. Red Hood takes his guns, combines them into a sniper rifle, and takes aim for a moment before firing. However, as an edge guard tool, the kill power is well worth the risk. This move will not have a lot of combo potential, both in general as well as locking you out of firing the pistols till Jason disassembles the sniper. Can't use it as one thing while it's something else. Duh. In the air, this move becomes a flying tackle if you hold forward, or a retreating leap if you hold back. You can use this as a quick burst option, especially if you fire weapons while you travel, or a recovery move, but you'll mostly want to make contact and get an enemy on the ground. Fire as you pin an enemy to blast them. Tap attack to begin punching them repeatedly until they or an ally forces you off, and use a down attack to kick off whenever you want. This spikes in the air, and is recommended to avoid committing a Harry Potter. His grounded up special is a quick zap from his bat emblem. Use this to protect yourself and allies. It's also a decent combo starter. In the air, Red Hood will instead swing along his grapple line, either kicking or shooting anyone in his path. This is probably the most aggressive grapple attack, making it hard to contest, but because of the way it works, the approach is pretty predictable and thus easily avoided when used offensively. His grounded down special is a jolt of the street drug Venom, which will mainly put Jason into his rage mode, a mode we'll get to here in a bit. The aerial variant is a flying kick, very similar to old Brucey Boy. Use his side arms to put the opponent in his stun for a moment to land the kick easier. That's the specials. Let's get to his basics. His jab will be a 1-2 flourish with his sword, a downward stab with the dagger in his other hand, and a boot kick to send the enemy away. The first hit is a great combo starter, but low hit stun, so you'll probably want to follow up with some bullets. The second has a vacuum hit, so it's great for combos. And the third will send enemies too far away for most follow-ups, but can send them into traps quite nicely. Speaking of traps, his down attack will set a mine. Simply press the input again to set it off. This provides some solid stage control and can send enemies hurtling right into your threat range. However, this explosive cannot be set off while you are doing something else or in hit stun, so be careful. Some opponents might realize this and respect your space less, knowing you can't always threaten to blow the mine. If an ally is caught in the blast, they become engulfed in flame, and their next melee attack will give opponents the ignited status effect, dealing damage over time and making them receive more when hit. His up attack is a powerful uppercut. The closer Jason is to the opponent, the weaker the knockback for better grounded combos. Hit at the fist to send them flying for more aerial based ones instead. And finally, his neutral attack is a chargeable headbutt that deals disorient to enemies, which breaks armor and turns them around. If you use neutral special during the right cancel window, these moves will change slightly. His jab becomes a 1-2 hit where he strikes enemies with the blunt end of a gun, gives a little spin, and fires. A pistol whip and fire, then an upward hit with both pistols, firing as he jabs them into enemies. You can switch between the melee and guns at any point of the 3 attacks. The melee attacks are quicker, but the guns give more hit stun, so using both will open up a lot of combo trees. His up attack will now see him with a gun in hand, firing as he makes contact. Again, not as quick as the normal variant, but gives more hit stun. And his neutral now sees him charging for a double-fisted punch with guns in hand, firing as he makes contact. This variant is probably Jason's best hit stun move, but it does not deal disorient. There is no gun variant for his down attack. How would that even work? In the air, these attacks become a high knockback crowbar swing. The gun variant is a double overhead swing into a blast. His nair is a spammable knee strike. The gun variant is a rapid flurry of punches, firing as he goes. Keep pressing either attack button to keep punching. His dare is a falling elbow strike, great for low percent combos when used out of a short hop, and spikes hard off stage at kill percent. The gun variant sees him perform a downward punch into a blast. And finally, the up air is a 1-2 upward slash with his swords. That is instead an upward sweeping shot when using the guns. Now that's Red Hood's base moveset, and hopefully you're as happy with it as I am, as I think it lends to some brutally creative combos and setups. But as any true fan of the Hoodster knows, Jason has a violent temper, and this can lead to some unfortunate aftermath for Todd and those around him. After reaching 100%, Jason will enter in his Rage mode. Or if you actually like this mode, you can enter it earlier by using Venom. Now, for about a minute, Jason will not use any guns, any explosives, no stabby sticks or crowbars. He will only throw hands. In this mode, Jason is slower and heavier. Not the slowest in the game by any standard, but definitely slower. This essentially nerfs Jason's range and mobility significantly. He's too angry to think straight and use his tools. He simply wants to punch something really, really hard. And that's what he does! Think of it like Doom Guy Berserker mode. Essentially everyone hit by Jason will react as if they had maximum stacks of weakened. This makes Jason a killing machine if your enemies can't avoid you. You can only use it once per life though. For his signature perks we have Shocking Mags. Attach a taser mod to Jason's weapon, dealing additional electrical damage when attacking with them. Just him! Jason will deal an additional 5% damage to the fighter with the most accumulated damage. This will not apply if that is you or your ally, however. Force of habit. Jason will automatically begin reloading after firing most of his rounds instead of the full 16. Inspirations for this moveset came from the comics, Injustice 2, Arkham Knight, and other Multiversus moves. The taser is not only seen in Injustice 2 but will act in a very similar way to the Scrimas. The swing kick is also very Dick derivative. The down special is literally a 1-to-1 of bats, but you probably didn't realize the dare also came from bats. Now, every Robin is special. Dick was the first. Jason's a fan favorite. But Tim? Tim is the Robin most of us grew up with. Not only that, but he's considered to be the best sidekick in universe. To the point that he clearly never outgrew the role. But how did he become a sidekick? Well, mostly because Dick is about as good as keeping his identity a secret as the Bat Family is at keeping it in their pants. You do realize doing shit only a flying Grayson could do, and referencing them to all your enemies narrows it down significantly, right? Well, someone did realize that. Tim Drake. Which easily led him to discover Batman's identity as well. And that was that. Tim argued Batman will always need a Robin, and basically blackmailed his way in. Okay, no, that's not exactly what happened. Not only did Tim deduce the dynamic duo's real identities, he also noticed how different Batman had become in Jason's absence. Either too angry to care or subconsciously punishing himself, he had grown too reckless. Tim tracked down Nightwing, even helped him solve a murder case, and convinced him Batman needed him. But not as Nightwing, as Robin. Dick wasn't having that shit though, and backflipped his way into a kidnapping with Bruce, practically forcing the kid to don the mantle himself and save their grown asses at 13 years old. Batman admitted the kid had potential, but he heavily restricted Tim from the field until he was absolutely sure he was ready. He was not going to have another Jason. He was trained by Alfred, Bruce, and finally Dick before getting to go out with Batman. And even still he was held back! It wasn't until after nightfall, when his mother died and father was poisoned, that he finally proved to Batman he was ready. With this event, Bruce was concerned Tim would be Robin out of anger and get himself killed. But no, Tim was adamant that he will be Robin because it's the right thing to do, not for anything personal. And with that, he was fully granted the mantle. After more training, of course, he thought. Years passed, and Tim only further proved to be the perfect partner in that time as Robin. Then Bruce seemingly died in Final Crisis, leaving Dick to take up the role and fire Tim, saying that he saw him as an equal and could never have him as a sidekick. Tim would go on to become a popular nationwide burger joint, also a bit of a crackpot conspiracy theorist who obsessed over finding Bruce despite us literally seeing his corpse. His mad hunt driving those around him away as he died further and further in denial. And then he was right! Tim's deductive reasoning went beyond reason, practically broke the fourth wall to read the script, and knew Bruce was still fucking about. And no one ever questioned him again. Man, comic books being batshit insane has plagued this man's whole career. But enough about nerd history, let's talk skills. Obviously, he has all the basic Robin stuff. Stealth, escape arts, covert ops, fetching the coffee and drawing the gunfire, you know the drill. But it's important to note that Tim had excessive training in these areas, having multiple tutors in areas that other Robins only had Batman for. It's also generally agreed that Tim is easily the smartest Robin. For example, he didn't just pull that whole, "I know who you are" thing on Bruce and Dick. Dude figures out secret identities like it's a hobby. Like Nightwing, he is an expert leader, having done so for the Titans as well as the team Young Justice. He's arguably the best strategist, having a tendency to outthink his opponents before the fight even begins, to the point that people you'd think could beat him in a fight lose consistently. Because of this, and being one of the most deadly with his weapon of choice in all of the DC universe, he can be considered the best fighter of all the Robins. He is trained in almost all forms of combat and specializes in both leopard and dragon style kung fu for unarmed combat, which both keep his strikes fluid, fast, and utilizes the momentum of each move to power the next, which complements and translates to his staff techniques, Bojutsu, quite nicely. Not to double down on a previous point, but Tim is not only smart as hell, he's also a very good student, able to be taught and retain a ridiculous level of knowledge, such as 100 ways to disarm someone. Notable feats of yum include fighting while blind, eating a man who was holding him at gunpoint before he can even fire and dodging the bullet, tossing Killer Croc around like a ragdoll. Yeah, that guy. Is only momentarily dazed when getting fucking domed by a brick, jammed a gun with a fucking nail? What the fuck? Step off, man. You're the staff guy. Don't come for the marksman crown. And he took it. It's gone. Deduced that he was being stalked via bird because the one used to do so was not native to Gotham. A man he just saw fall into a piranha tank survived and knew how. Solved a riddle that was giving the goddamn Batman some difficulty, which is wild considering the practice he's gotten, honestly. And maybe most impressive of all, knew someone on his team would dare him to take off his mask, so he wore another one under it. Equipment-wise, Tim of course has his trusty staff, which I recently found actually has holes drilled in on the ends in a way that causes the whizzing sound to be rather disorientating. And in some iterations it doubles as a spear, or can create a shield. Otherwise, he has discount batarangs, the birderangs, which are probably just as dumb as the goddamn, that fucks. What the fuck, that's sleek as fuck, I want one! He of course also has his utility belt, containing the usual grapnel, rebreather, first aid, smoke and gas pellets, explosives, and a handheld computer. In the Arkhamverse, he also gets Batman's explosive gel and a snap flash, a device he can plant on people, then detonate to disorientate them. His domino mask comes complete with telescopic lenses that have several ranges of vision, and most of his suits seem to be a leather armor of some kind to protect against blades and small gunfire. What sets this particular one apart from his others, and most of the Bat family, is that the cape can be used as bladed weapons and comes with a jetpack. I'd love to see that legal battle. Now, onto the stats. Given the insane range Tim will naturally have whirling around a staff all the time, players should feel properly rewarded for gaining an advantage against him. What I'm saying is, he shouldn't take forever to die, so we'll give him a similar weight as Batman. In terms of speed, he'll also be around here. If not a little faster, but definitely slower than what we intend to use for Dick. Tim tends to fight in a way that's optimal for whatever scenario he finds himself in, so he should have combo and kill power towards any blast zone. We shall make him a hybrid. Speaking of having a strong position no matter what scenario he's in, I chose to make Tim a bruiser, given that this is the closest class to a jack of all trades, though I must admit there is some bleed over into mage. As for his moves, firstly, we are giving Tim a counter. If anyone can negate an attack and return to sender, it's probably the guy who's real-time strategizing mid-fight to the point he knows your next 4 moves. However, Multiversus is a very aggressive game with a fairly chaotic and fast flow that I don't want to disrupt by making everything thrown out easily punishable. It just doesn't mesh well with the current mechanics. but requiring a neutral dodge to avoid the attack, then inputting neutral special to immediately counterattack will take just enough skill to still be easy to utilize, but be impossible to spam. You can't just stand there in a defense position with no punish window like other moves until you're hit for free damage. You actually have to anticipate a move, as a proper dodge must be registered for the counter to be available. Secondly, you'll have a meter that I'm calling Intel. As Tim deals or receives damage, the meter will fill. It will not fill passively, so camping isn't a great strategy. Obviously, getting your shit rocked won't be as valuable as kicking ass, so dealing damage will give slightly more meter than the other way around. When full, Red Robin will have fully analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of his opponents. Now knowing their weak points, he and his team will deal increased damage and knockback for a short duration. Note that the meter can only fill once per life, and the charge will not carry over after a ring out. For his normals, we have the following. His neutral is a chargeable wind-up attack. Upon release, Tim will rapidly spin his staff towards the attacker before finally sending them away with a final hit for either a solid get-off tool or combo finisher. How many times he hits the opponent is dependent on the charge. More hits will raise the likelihood of a hit causing disorient. You can cancel the final swing with any other input, making it a great combo starter. The only drawback of this move is that it has poor range compared to other moves, but it also covers from behind. For his jab, he cracks enemies across the face from side to side before pole vaulting towards them. The first hit will deal disoriented. His down attack sees him quickly sweep enemies off their feet. You can't combo from this before they land. His up attack is a quick diagonal poke, great for anti-airing, and turning what would have been your opponent's aerial combo into your own. His Sair will be a 1-2 flying kick into a bash with his staff that spikes. His Dare will be a powerful downward poke. His up air is a 1-2 upward sweep into a launching kick. And his Nair is a spammable but weak kick, similar to the one we see him performing all the time in the source material. For his specials, we have the neutral special. When not being used as a counter, plants a snap flash. Simply press the input again to blow it. Great for winning neutral and putting your opponent in a bad spot. The hitbox is super small and leaves you vulnerable just like in Arkham though. Luckily, if you do manage to plant it, you completely control when it goes off, making it easier to combo with than the Bat Bomb. Does not remain if wrung out though. On the ground, his down special sees him set some explosive gel. Again, just re-input the special to blow it. The gel will evaporate after some time however, say 20 seconds, and be unable to be used. Only has 3 charges per life, meaning you'll have to plan out your uses just as Tim would to make the most of it. In the air, he instead activates his glider. Use this to stall in the air, extend combos, and make some big brain plays. Red Robin has a projectile for a side special, wherein Tim can throw up to 3 Batarangs before going on cooldown. This makes them slightly more versatile than Bruce's, but they deal far less knockback and break more easily. Cause let's be honest, Batman would absolutely use cheaper materials for the shit not going into his own utility belt.
Well, since Robin has a face full of glass, I guess you could take his place.
Do you think I could have health insurance this time around?
No, I don't think that's gonna work for me.
Batman, you're like a billionaire. Come on.
Yeah, and I didn't get this far by giving handouts. Now come on, we have work to do.
And lastly, the up specials. On the ground, Tim will use his shield, which has 15 bars of gray health for each life, but can only take 1 melee hit at a time. Use this to counter projectiles, protect allies, and defend against an aggressive approach. In the air, he will instead charge up his jetpack before bursting forward in a direction the player chooses. Has an 8-second cooldown. Overall, Tim has insane range and damage denial with really solid setups and stage control, but must use his resources wisely and can be knocked out early if his game plan isn't solid. The inspirations for this moveset were heavily inspired by his tools in the Arkham franchise, the new 52 version of Red Robin, and basically all of his time with the Titans. For his signature perks, we have Trained Eye. Tim's meter fills more quickly, but lasts for a shorter duration. In the Zone. Tim's meter fills more slowly, but lasts much longer. I know, how original. Supercharged Charge. Tim's aerial up special can be charged for longer for more distance and knockback, but will be on cooldown for longer. Alrighty gang, time to finally cover the character that's actually still going by Robin. Well, actually, Damian is currently discovering himself and stepping away from the role due to the recent death of Alfred and injuries to Dick Grayson, causing him to question his father's methods and leave his side. However, this is an ongoing story arc for Damian. Since we don't know where this story is going and where it will take his character by the end of it, we're going to ignore it and focus on what we do know. Ra's al Ghul, the head of the demon, leader of the League of Assassins. He believes the world can only better itself once it rises from the ashes of the fires he will set upon the earth. However, he's had about 600 years to make that work, and it hasn't panned out yet. You'd think being an immortal he'd just try again until the heat death of the universe. But nope. Raish's elongated time on this plane has its limits. With only so many centuries left to rid the world of its evils, Raish needed an heir, with only one man worthy of the mantle. Too bad he doesn't want it. If only I could make a Batman without all those ethical hang-ups. Say, now that's an idea. One date rape later and Damian was born, heir to both the Demon's Head and the cowl of the Batman. But no way is Talia going on leave from being a ninja badass for 9 months just to play the genetic lottery. Hell no. Damian is a test tube baby, artificially aged and with the perfect blend of Al Ghul Wayne potential. From then on, his life would be a constant fight, being trained to be the perfect weapon at birth. This included fighting for the right to meet his father. Took several tries, but eventually he bested his own teacher. And boy, what a whiplash! Understandably, it took Damian a while to grasp that he was allowed to be a kid, that he didn't need to constantly prove himself to his father. He didn't understand Bruce's no-kill rule, but out of respect he would honor it. And eventually, through Bruce's unconditional love and Dick's unwavering optimism, he would follow it more and more willingly. That is until someone threatened to take it all away. The king of disappointed but not angry, Batman doubled down on giving Damian that unconditional love and patience he didn't get before Bruce was part of his life. Some dynamic shenanigans later, and Robin would grow to be a kinder, nobler person. Now not only did he have the skills of a hero, but the heart of one. Imagine what would have happened if Batman was instead written like a cold, self-righteous prick that constantly pushed people away because Brood! And Damian was written like an arrogant, pig-headed, bloodthirsty brat well beyond his formative years. Yeah. As some of you may know, Damian is a pretty divisive character. I stand by this solely being because people were introduced to him in stuff like this, where they never do advance that character arc. Robin in Multiversus needs to be further along, because at this point, I don't think a wider audience is ever going to see the more mature Damian that people actually fucking like! So to clarify, Damian's portrayal needs to be more like this. And less like this. Yes, yes. No, no. Yes, no. He'll taunt people way out of his league because he's full of himself, but he's not going to worship the woman who sends people to kill him on his birthday. When the yearly assassin does come knocking, how does Robin proceed to knock him the fuck out? Well, being trained so early on, Robin of course got his PhD in the basic shit. Criminology, escapism, espionage, hacking, acrobatics, drawing the gunfire, fetching the coffee, helping Alfred clean the bat crap, stuff like that. But he's also far and away the best ninja-styled Robin to date due to being a League of Assassin lab rat a good portion of his life. Stealth, misdirection, and melee are his specialities. His swordsmanship being among the best in the biz, and his punches are even deadlier, utilizing just as many forms as dear old dad. Though he's no slouch in range either, being able to fire a bow blind and still get the bullseye. Speaking of firing blind, Damian doesn't just wear the hood for style points. He's the only Robin allowed to, his hearing more than making up for the loss of peripherals. Damian also has his father's genius level IQ. While not as strategic as Tim in battle, he has applied his smarts and knowledge in things like mechanics, business, academics, and zoology. Oh, and he learned to drive any vehicle at age 5, so he tends to take the Batmobile for joyrides. Not only is he a fast fighter, but he's also been shown to dodge bullets just as well as any other Bat protege. But when he does take a blow, he can easily shrug off a level of force capable of breaking down cement. He even seems to have inherited some of Bruce's strong will regardless of the odds. Still a blur when throwing hands after being lethally poisoned even. But to his credit, Damian's drive is all his own, being one of the few Bat babies actually wanting the mantle. And he's out to prove he's worthy of it. Call this kid Coffeezilla, cause he's gathered way more of a case than needed. Damian's claims to the mantle include being able to avoid every camera in all of Gotham to remain undetected, perfectly mimicking Batman's voice to override security, killing a Talon in a single blow, held onto his grapple despite being attached to a nuke rocketing through the sky, knocked out Tim in one punch, threw something at a crazed Batman from across the room fast enough that he couldn't block it despite having a broken spine, fires an arrow faster than someone can pull a trigger, tackles someone before they can fire, keeps fighting despite directly taking a taser to the neck, and regularly pulls a Batman. Kid sounds like quite the badass, but he does have some notable weaknesses. While his training started early and is already on par, if not better than other Robins, meaning he has the potential to be the best fighter, that's simply not the case at this point in his career, winning very few fights against the others, despite picking many. And as many times as Damian has done something cool running headfirst into danger, he has equally been tossed aside like a ragdoll. While his lack of experience, lack of raw muscle, and small stature can be attributed to the fact that he is only 14, the biggest weakness he has is what gets him in those situations in the first place: arrogance. Any kid who claims he can fight better than Batman and shit better than Green Arrow... Wait, hold on. But did I not catch that typo? Any kid who claims he can fight better than Batman and shoot better than Green Arrow merely needs to be taken down a peg. I'd start by taking away some of his toys, and boys, there are plenty to choose from. The sword, inherited from the head of the demon himself, is the classic katana, a fitting slashing weapon for Damian's aggressive fighting style. The curve of the blade allows for quick movements, and its compact size makes it ideal for close quarters. That same curve and lack of a guard makes it less ideal for parrying and blocking attacks, however. Though the durability of the average katana has been criticized for poor long-term durability, Robin seems to slice clean through solid rock and metal on the regular, with no sign of deterioration at all. His bow of choice is usually a recurve, light and easy to transport, but the draw weight is among the heaviest. Given Damian's firing speed despite this, means the arrows fly fast and hard. Also, though he usually doesn't carry one, Damian isn't adverse to using the Bang Bang Rod. His gloves contain brass knuckles as well as retractable claws, as if one-hit KOs when barehanded wasn't enough. Batarangs are aplenty in Robin's arsenal, using them both as projectiles as well as yet another slashing weapon. The utility belt of course also contains the usual: grapples, smokes, gases, rebreathers, first aid, explosives, and hacking devices. His cape allows him to glide. His mask comes with forensic lenses and can be used as an explosive in times of desperation. And armor-wise, the Robin uniform is resistant to impact, small caliber rounds, and cuts from blades. Stabbing, however, not so much. Oh, and he could always call in Goliath. Can't forget Goliath. Stat-wise, Robin will be extremely quick in order to blitz his opponents, stay on top of them, and keep up the aggression. I want his attacks to be among the fastest in the game, though Dick and Tim will still have the superior movement speed. Being so quick with a sword will give Damian extremely good hit priority, so contesting him will be hard. It's only fair to properly reward gaining an advantage against Robin by giving him a lower weight stat, so players can bring him out more easily. Plus it made sense given his small size. Having possibly the most versatile training of the Bat family, we will be making Damian equally effective in verticality and horizontality. Speaking of said training, there's really only one class that fits Robin. The clue is in the name! Now then, onto the moves. Firstly, some of Damian's sword slashes will deal my patented bleed status to targets. 3% damage per second for 4 seconds. Not stackable, but we will make the duration refresh, and therefore last longer by giving Robin ways to deal the effect multiple times in a single combo. Additionally, taking after his father, a few of Robin's attacks will also deal weakened, an effect wherein enemies take more damage and knockback for each stack. His grounded moves will go as follows. An incredibly quick jab for the neutral that will deal 1 stack of weaken. Keep pressing the button to unleash a flurry of punches. Weak and lacking range, but is excellent for extending combos. His 3-hit jab is a 1-2 flourish from his blade that will deal bleed, followed by a spinning boot kick to send enemies flying. His up attack will deal bleed and is a 1-2 move wherein he slashes upwards, bringing himself into the air with batarangs in hand before striking back downward. Use this to start a combo in the air by cancelling the first move with an aerial, or combo more horizontally by combining off the second hit. And for his down attack, he performs a lunging downward strike, dealing weaken and a short stun, a less fatal reference to the powerful blows Damian is capable of. In the air, he performs a 1-2 spinning kick. The second strike will break armor. His Sair will be a lunging kick with an early and late hitbox to send at different angles. The early hit, like if you were to combo into it, will send more horizontally, allowing you to continue your aerial assault. The late hit, like if you were to land with it to instead start a combo, will send more downward, allowing for you to transition into more grounded combos. This essentially combines Batman's Sair 1 and 2 into a single move depending on how you choose to use it, but sacrifices the kill power for more combo potential. His up air is also inspired by the Dark Knight, being a combination of his own up air as well as his up special. Damian will perform a rising uppercut into a high kick that will send enemies straight upwards, the second hit dealing weaken. His dare will be a powerful downward strike with the sword, though I wouldn't recommend using it on the stage, as Damian will need to take an extra moment to pull his weapon out of the ground. Obviously, I've empathized Robin's melee and combos for his normals, so his specials will focus more on the gadgets and other tools Damian tends to utilize. His down special will be a smoke bomb that will work similar to Bruce's, but instead of throwing it at his feet, he'll throw it at an ally or enemy. This allows him to utilize it in the air as well. Allies encased in smoke will be invisible and immune to most projectiles. This will be the case for Damian if he runs into the smoke as well. Damian will get the weakness debuff on all his attacks and allies will get a speed and damage buff. Enemies will instead be slowed. Damian trades the speed buff for more ally buffs when compared to Batman's smoke. This seems fair since Damian really won't need better movement speed anyway. Move will of course have a cooldown. Damian will call upon Goliath to charge forward and into enemies for high knockback. The Demon Bat will have armor. If Damian rides him, he will also. If armor is broken, Damian will be knocked off if he is hit, and the cooldown will be longer if Goliath is hit. You can instead combo off or into Goliath for some interesting combo routes and kills. To better follow up with an arrow, you can summon Goliath in the air as well. For his neutral, he fires a Batarang. Tap the input once, twice, or 3 times before it's thrown to change the type of Batarang readied, each with unique effects and cooldowns. The normal Batarang will have a chance to deal bleed the more it's charged. This version will deal little damage and knockback, but can still work as a combo starter / extender. The explosive Batarang will deal greater knockback and make enemies take an additional stack of weaken if they are hit by a move that applies the effect for a short time. And lastly, the shock Batarang will stun an enemy. And his up special will be the Grapnel. I wanted Damian to be the most like his father out of all the characters we covered today. Given how much he strives to win his approval and one day take his place, it makes sense he'd be the most Batman-like of the rest. But hopefully I still made him unique enough to stand on his own. Damian is a weak lightweight that makes up for his shortcomings with a highly aggressive, long and versatile combo game to quickly rack up damage before he can be taken out. Inspirations from his moveset came from the comics and the DC animated movie universe. For his perks, we have School of Hard Knocks. Any multi-hit that applies weaken can now apply it on either hit. Note that this doesn't mean you can stack 2 weakens in one move. What it does mean is that you can now cancel out the first hit for a combo while still being able to apply weaken, but if you only hit with the second attack, it will still apply weaken all the same. Unbreakable Bond. Goliath will require twice as many hits to be sent away early, but the overall cooldown will be longer. Heir to the Cowl. Except invisibility, the effects of being in smoke will last outside of it once applied for a short duration. And that's it! My take on the Bat Babies in Super Smash the Warner Bros. Max. Have a good day, leave suggestions for more down in the comments below, help me reach 1,000 subscribers so I can quit my job as a black market Gleamian dealer and finally put old Bessie to rest. And I'll see you all next time. Peace, peace.